What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we have another campaign review for you. We're coming back to Hail Caesar. We're taking a look at, this one's been out for a little while, but we're taking a look at the Germania expansion. So obviously Rome and the German tribes here. So we'll take, like I said, a look through it. We'll see what it covers, what it lets you do, and why it's worth picking up, and just some of the maybe criticisms as well. So right off the bat, just compared to some of the other expansions out there, like the Bronze Age one, which we recently covered, check that one out. So it's a fairly thin book, and honestly just barely tops out over 50 pages, so we'll talk about that as we go through. But we flip it open again. We got gorgeous not art, but just sort of in-game pictures here of Romans and German tribes, and just gorgeous look at the miniatures there. So the book itself is basically the Teutoburger Wald and its aftermath, and really that's part of the reason why it's maybe a little bit on the thinner side as far as expansions go. But that being said, it's also just very focused on that, so we're not getting a lot of necessarily unnecessary things related to that. So we flip over, and basically here are the contents. So again, Warlord always does a great job of giving us the little backstory or back history on that. So we learn a little bit about the German rebellion, what the sort of early imperial army was like, the legions on the Rhine. Really cool too, just a description of the different German tribes. Disaster in the Teutoburger Wald, so the actual the sort of infamous ambush there, and then some of the other subsequent scenarios too. And separate from this, we will also run through a series of videos here, basically just covering the scenarios in the book, so be on the lookout for that in the near future. But it's called Escape from Aliso. Then we get into the campaigns of Germanicus. We get a really cool scenario called Retrieve the Eagles, the Long Bridges, Idis Taviso, I'm probably butchering that. Let me know in the comments how bad I did. Rome's Revenge, and then kind of conclusion and just wrapping some stuff up if you want to basically do some extra reading. So that being said, so we get a little bit of background here. So again, Warlord's always great with bringing in quotes here. So Tacitus, and then a little picture here of what is believed to be Arminius. If you ever get a chance to go to Europe and see the statue of Arminius in Germany is really cool. Really cool memorial there. But anyway, a little bit of the background history to start with. Again, if you're really interested in this particular time period, also again, there's any number of great documentaries. Check them out on like YouTube and things like that. But again, just the background and sort of the prelude and what led up to this. So Varus and Arminius, and again, a lot of the disasters that Rome had are ironically, of course, so often like self-inflicted. But yeah, just dealing with the actual ambush, the aftermath of it, and so on and so forth. So again, lots of history for the first bit here. Then we get into what the Imperial Roman Army was, or how it was organized, at least at this point. Again, really great stuff here, and just an awesome, gorgeous sort of double-page shot here of the way this battle was going here. Then really interesting bit here, and this would we'll talk about this in a second, but going into the history of the various Germanic tribes, and again we have a nice map here showing roughly where they kind of were located at in this particular period. And then just a little bit of backstory on each of them too, which is really cool. This is one area where the book could have done a little bit more, and again, maybe it didn't just because there's maybe not enough actual historical research on it, but it would have been cool to maybe see if like there were any like particular tribal colors or anything like that in a little bit more detail, just to give the not just the reader but the hobbyist, the gamer, some more things to potentially more things to potentially do with their models. So that being said, there's obviously other research you can do, and would have been interesting maybe beyond the scope of this, but like in the same way that like the Age of Bronze expansion also had sort of a sub game of more skirmish based or smaller battle scenarios, that would have been cool for some of these other maybe smaller skirmishes during this period, just to have something like maybe even tribal special rules. But again, that might be just growing beyond the concept of these. Some of these tribes really didn't show up much in history either, as far as maybe developing whole sets of rules around them, but nonetheless could have been something fun potentially, or just some other extra special rules to maybe try out to add a little flavor to the games. But that could be something down the road too for if you play like SPQR. Again, there's no reason you can't kind of combine the best of both worlds and play like some of the bigger battles, but then maybe the more intimate things you switch over to a little bit of like SPQR, or adapt the Bronze Age skirmish sub rules of Hail Caesar to fit some of these things too, if you don't always want to play a gigantic battle. But anyway, the first mission here is the disaster in the Teutoburger Wald. So we get, again, sort of explanation of what the forces were, special rules for the scenario. Again, really cool overall. A hint, if you really want to get into this and replay these scenarios, invest in a lot of forest terrain. And again, I love that they also include the stats that we need for the relevant forces and special rules and kind of what we're looking at there. And then basically sort of the aftermath, and again, just a really great little bit of history on that there. Of course, our famous quote there from Augustus, "Give me back my legions." So then the next one is Escape from Aliso. And again, these are some really funky scenarios as far as like just, it's not just a sort of standard, let's just line up across the board and have at it, basically. So there's a lot of interesting things here. So if you do want to get a sort of expansion of your sort of tactical and strategic gaming experience out of Hail Caesar, definitely recommend any of really the campaign books, just forcing you into different roles. And really, you know, yes, this is ideally geared towards Rome and the German tribes, but there's no reason you couldn't, again, take the idea of these scenarios and then just recreate it with whatever forces you might have at hand. So lots of interesting options there. Again, it doesn't just have to be for people who collect Romans and or Germans. So so this is still, I believe, let me go back real quick. Yeah, this is that Escape from Aliso. Sorry, kind of getting off topic here. But again, gorgeous pictures talking about the aftermath here. Then we get into a little bit of history on Germanicus. And then this is a really cool scenario, the Retrieve the Eagles scenario. So lots of interesting things going on there. And again, we'll cover all these in a separate series of videos. Again, we get a force list here, aftermath. It's almost like we get our own little battle reports off of these. The Long Bridges one is really cool too. So again, a lot of stuff going on in these scenarios, so definitely worth covering separately. We get It is Staviso. Again, probably not doing that right. Aftermath there, Rome's Revenge. And again, breakdown of the forces, lots of good stuff here. And then kind of a conclusion, wrapping things up, sources for basically reading on. Like I said, this barely tops out over 50 pages. And then the last is just a suggestion on stuff you can buy to really fill out your forces. So overall, really cool campaign book. Definitely one worth checking out, guys. It is on the slimmer side, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad in any way, shape, or form. Certainly there could be more things done with that time period. So maybe at some point, if Warlord revises this or adds more to it, there's definitely more that could be done, or even a supplemental book or like PDF or something like that. But definitely worth checking out. Again, obviously, if you like Imperial Roman Germans and or Germans, this is for you, of course. But nonetheless, there's still a lot of great information out here, guys. So if you could drop a comment, let us know what you thought of the book, if you've had it, or just what you thought of the review. Questions, comments, concerns, hit us with a like if you could. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much for checking out the channel today, guys. Really appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.